Hi, I'm Jeffrey, and this is Life with a Pipe. Thanks for joining me again today. Today, we are going to compare loose Uno with pressed Uno. Let's check it out. So, I was watching Walt do a tasting of Uno this morning and realized that I have several ounces of unpressed Uno that I received from Donnie, the tattooed piper, recently. And Uno is originally a pressed tobacco. So I thought it'd be awesome, before I actually taste this for the first time, that I would create my own pressing, leave it for a week or two, we'll see, and then do a side by side of the pressed versus the unpressed. And I'll share that with you when I get there. So let's go ahead and create a pressing here. I'm going to take 1 ounce of the unpressed. And then we'll put it in the press, leave it for, again, a week or two generally is sufficient. Oh, almost there. There we go. 1 ounce. All right. So, done. Prep our press. We'll edit out all that squeaky noise. All right. So in the bottom, let's put some wax paper. There we go. And then we'll feed in the tobacco. One ounce generally fits in these very, very easy. It's when you start getting into multiple ounce pressings where it gets harder and harder to, you have to do the filling in stages. You have to fill it, compress it, fill it, compress it, fill it, compress it. But this will be just fine. Okay, tighten her down. So again, when you're doing a pressing, you want to tighten it and then come back to it once a day, once every other day. Give it a nice extra twist to make sure that the pressure is remaining. I don't know how much of it is pressure loosening, because again, this is threaded, so technically it could loosen with some back pressure. All right, that's as much as I'm going to get right now. Or if it's due to compression and changes in the compressibility. So we're going to leave this for a couple of weeks and come back and we'll share it. And we're back. It's been more than 30 days. This tobacco went into the press on April 28th. Today is Sunday, May 31st. Let's go ahead and open this up and see how we're looking. Got to back off the pressure first. So I've not been particularly consistent with tightening this down on a daily basis. Only when I thought about it. So maybe once, twice a week. That is a beautiful sight. Now, if you're ever using one of these spaghetti presses, there is a liner. So it's 2 pieces of metal. You want to hold a thumbnail over that edge to keep it in place. Otherwise, the tobacco can sometimes drag the liner out with it as you're pulling it out. Look at that. Oop. That is a very nice puck. Very nice. So this is going to go in a jar and sit for at least a week, and then during that time it'll expand. I kept this under pressure for 4 weeks, so it will stay more compressed than if I had done it for a shorter period of time. The C&D pressings, because they're doing large production, the more time they leave their tobaccos in the press, they're losing money. So the reason that C&D does crumble cakes rather than plugs is simply a matter of economics. If it had been pressed longer, they would be harder, but they don't. They leave them pressed for 7 days, I believe, is their philosophy from what I've heard. And then you end up with a crumble cake rather than a plug. A true plug is not cut leaf like this. A true plug is layers of tobacco stacked, pressed, and then sliced. But this is a very nice alternative. So I'm going to jar this up. We'll smoke it next weekend. All right, I'm excited to try that. So we're going to do a side-by-side of the loose versus the pressed. Again, I'm doing this because the original presentation of the Uno tobacco was in a pressed cake. And this is the novelty, the loose leaf. So we're going to try these side by side and see how it turns out.
All right, here we go. So we have the plug that was pressed for 4 weeks and has been resting for 1 week. It is still quite solid. It did expand a little bit. It was a little tough to get out of the jar, but it is beautiful, smells amazing. Let's go ahead and cut this up. We're gonna pack a bowl of the loose Uno and a bowl of the pressed Uno. Just gonna start by cutting off the edge here, and then we'll roll out, rub out some flakes. This is still very, very tightly pressed. Big shout out to Truck and Piper Bob for talking with me about his methods of pressing tobaccos. He's a big proponent of pressing longer in order to get a proper plug, as opposed to a shorter amount of time to get a crumble cake. And as we all know, C&D is known for their crumble cakes. That's because they choose to prioritize time in press, meaning minimize time in press, over creating a plug for their customers. So we get crumble cakes from Cornell and Deal rather than hard pressed plugs, as you will with some other producers. Oh, this smells so good. All right, so I'm gonna put the pressed in the flat bottom, pressed flat. So easy to remember, right? This is an Edwards Natural Algerian briar pipe. I love Algerian briar pipes. They're so underrated. If you can find an Algerian briar pipe on eBay, Edwards specifically, these were made out of Tampa, Florida, back in the day. The shop is still there, but they no longer make pipes. But these are wonderful pipes. I found these in a local thrift store, antique store, most likely a part of somebody's estate sale that got handed off to the shop. And they were some of the first estate pipes I ever restored. They didn't require a whole lot. They just needed to be reamed, and I cleaned the briar, cleaned the stems. Ultimately, they were very good. So this is Uno from 428 is when I took it out of the press. It went into the press 4 weeks before that. Sorry, it went into the press on 428, came out of the press a week ago, and today is May 6th. So let's enjoy this. This is getting a little bit on the drier side. I do have one Bovita pack in here with it, as you can see, but it needs a little more love. It really needs to go in a jar with a Bovita pack for a while. Okay, here we go. Let's enjoy. All right, we're packed and ready to go. Quick shout out to Grumpy Pants Piper. He shared with me this new wireless microphone. Thank you so much. What do you guys think of the sound? Improvement? I hope so. We'll all find out together when I do the editing. Grumpy Pants Piper, thank you so much for your generosity. I hope you're enjoying your time away from home while you're visiting the state of Florida, and we look forward to your next video. Thank you so much, my friend. So let's light this up. We're gonna start with the unpressed and get a baseline. Now, Uno, I believe I've mentioned this before, but I'll say it again, is normally found in a pressed format. If you bought it in a tin, it came in a pressed plug. The Tattooed Piper bought some unpressed Uno at a pipe show, and he shared some of that with me, and now I'm sharing this with you. So I wanted to see how this blend differed in a pressed format versus a loose format. I've never had the original out of the tin. I have nothing to compare it to other than what is in my hand. So let's see how this experience goes. The Latakia is the initial experience from this, but there's a sweetness under it. There's a lot of components in this blend. Which is one reason I think that they pressed it, because when you have a bunch of components, they make up a smaller portion, and when they're loose, they can settle separately out of a tin. One thing to think about if you get a tin of something that's not, like sticky, if it's dry on the dry side, you may want to take it out of the tin and mix it up, because things can settle to the bottom, especially if there's things like granulated perique in a blend. It can be heavier than the other constituents, and just in the process of shipping and vibration, it can settle out to the bottom, and then you're not getting the true experience of the blend. Just something to think about. Things that are moist, they have a nice humidity to them. They tend not to settle out so much, but once things get on the drier side of things, like a lot of C&D blends can, think about, dumping it out of the tin, mixing it up, putting it back in the tin, just to get a more proper distribution. This is a super light English blend with a very firm base of Virginia under it. The Latakia is just above the Virginia. You got a really sweet base with the nice smokiness right on top of it. It really is a nice smoke. Okay, I want to see what my initial impression off the pressed blend is. So again, 4 weeks in a press, 1 week out of the press, freshly cut as you saw, packed. We're going to light it up. Definitely not taking the flame as easily as the loose. But we're getting there. The flavors are much more melded, as you would expect with a pressing. The Latakia is still there, but it's not as pronounced as with the loose. There's still a sweet undertone to it, but again, everything is more meeting in the middle rather than having a bit of separation to it. Very mild, nothing's jumping out at me. It's very well balanced. That's probably the best thing I could say about this blend, and that's a good thing to say about this blend. In the pressed format, it's a bit more of a Virginia experience rather than an English experience. The Latakia is dialed back. And again, like I was mentioning, something I really didn't think about was mixing the blend up before I put it in the press. I may have just pulled out more Virginia than Latakia, and I got more Latakia in that bowl. The Latakia is definitely there though. I'd say there's a little Perique in this. I'll have to look at, I'll put the constituents over here on the side. I can't remember them off the top of my head. I definitely read them once. I probably said them earlier in the video, but I've recorded this in several pieces over the last 5 weeks, so I can't remember what I've said and what I haven't said. This would be a great smoke if I needed to focus on something and I wasn't so much focused on the flavor. It's a nice flavor, but it's not intriguing. There's nothing jumping out at me. There's no particular component that's taking the forefront. Whereas with the loose, the Latakia was the more dominant experience with a nice sweet undertone. So I think I said earlier when I was packing the pipe that today is June 6th. You'll be watching this on June 6th, which is a Saturday, but this is Friday night, the evening before, enjoying an after dinner smoke. a nice glass of wine. This is a glass of Barbera de Alba. It's 100% Barbera grapes from the region of Alba, Barbera de Alba, and it is wonderful. It's a bit on the more acidic side. So it's a wonderful fruit, a wonderful food wine, but it has a nice fruitiness to it as well. It's not super dry, has some nice sweetness to it. But again, it's not as dry as a cab or something like that, but perfect for any meat that you would want to pair this with. But it's wonderful with tomato sauces. A general rule with wine pairing is drink regional wines with regional foods. The wines were developed in a way to complement the food of the region. So with Italian food being a lot of tomato flavors, acidic wines complement that very, very well. But acidity is basically what we look for with our meals in general. Anytime you're drinking a soda, it's acidity. It helps cleanse the palate between bites, refreshes your palate for the next bite. That's why we like drinking acidic beverages. Yeah, this is just really smooth, even. The pressing really brought all those flavors together. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time analyzing these with you this evening. I just wanted to give you a general idea, some general impressions as to my thoughts on these. Yeah, so the loose is what my palate is more in the mood for this evening, right after dinner. Having a nice smoky Latakia is always pleasant. Both good, but for different reasons. I think I'm going to keep the rest of this unpressed and enjoy it that way rather than pressing the rest of it. I'll finish the press, but I actually enjoy the loose of this better. I'll leave you with those thoughts. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Summer's beginning. School's over here in South Florida. I don't know about where you are. Probably over in most places. If not, it will be soon. Enjoy your summer. Be safe. Happy travels and happy smokes. Remember, life with a pipe is better than without. Bye for now.